Agenda is 17-01, the Massillon Grable Road Concept Plan. Do we have a representative here for that? Please state your name and address.
Good evening, Todd Westover, GPD Group, 520 South Main, Akron, Ohio. Okay, follow that. What we are here for today is to present a concept that we've worked out here, and not looking for a vote one way or the other. We are not ready for that. We have worked with Tom and Wayne, and they've showed this plan to them. We've had a meeting in their office, and they've given us suggestions. They've even gone so far as to review these plans and make additional suggestions. We're just here today to introduce the project and kind of sense your temperature of how you feel about it. We are proposing basically a retail establishment here, an anchor in the back, probably some sort of Whole Foods or grocery store kind of thing back there, and then more quick service restaurants and out front. Along that line, we wanted to, when we talked to Wayne, he asked us to present something that ultimately could be buildable and comply with the code. So we've taken this thing a step further and actually had it surveyed, done parking counts. We do meet the parking requirements, and even looked at landscaping and stormwater systems and topography. The map that you have here that came in your packets shows the existing site. We do actually own this corner or have option on this corner that is part of the property. Yeah, see there. So looking at this, basically you have the pharmacy next to it there owned by the Summa, and the property has some challenges. Number one, it slopes up to the residential area in the back, as well as has a very low spot right about here. I don't know if you can see where I'm pointing, or it's at the...
Ray, can you get that adjusted, please?
Turn the document.
He's a one-man show back there this evening, so you're going to have to bear with him. He's short-staffed. I can talk to you if it works. This is an existing common drive serving this property, and it has an easement that the joint owners of the property will serve that. So we already have this entrance off of Massillon Road here. Currently, there are a number of old curb cuts there when there was houses. We're looking to get rid of them. The only one we're asking to add here is this, what amounts to kind of an exit in and out, and truck traffic that circulates around the back. We've done everything possible to drive the traffic on Grable Road and in the existing entrance there that already exists. So what we got going here, like I said, a couple quick serve operations out here, fast food or whatever. We wanted to keep a view corridor through here so that this anchor could be seen. Thank you. In doing so, we're going to comply with all the requirements of the zoning code from a masonry standpoint and elevations. We're not going to be looking for any variances along that route here. Again, just here to kind of talk about the project, introduce it to you, and see what your thoughts are. We're set up that we come in here, and in order to make this thing work, this is the low part of the site. So we're looking to come in here, have an entrance up to the store here, entrance into the quick serve here, and either exit here, back out, or over here, or ultimately come in off the Grable Road and have this plaza up top here. Looking at the site plan, the way this thing, our initial grading, and this is just a kind of mass grading, concept grading plan, but the way that the site works is, let me turn it to...
We're not seeing that still on the document camera. I don't know. There we go.
There we go.
We just need some.
The way that this thing works is the property all drains this way. and all drains this way. So that makes stormwater detention very tricky when it's draining away, and it's also the low part of the site is right here. And we've got a site, we got a point over here at the Grable Road where we have to meet, and then this site slopes up. So what we've done is kind of establish a higher level here and a lower level down here, looking to put out here in the front some storm water quality measures, the bioretention and so forth, but ultimately we'd be looking for underground storage here, and then the same thing on top of here, some surface bioretention, and then ultimately underground storage. So the site is not really conducive to ponds or retention or detention, just the way that the whole site works. And being that it's an existing point of connection here and an existing point of connection here, we're really limited to how we can move the site. Coming in here, to get up to this plaza, there'll be a retaining wall here and elevate this plaza up top here. We've run all the auto truck turns for the fire department and the full tractor semis, because a lot of these places, you know, even a whatever restaurant, a fast food restaurants, they don't get serviced by box trucks anymore. The whole trailer pulls in there. So we've run it through the auto turn process. I don't know, Tom, if you've taken this to, if you looked at that at all, or if it's shown to the fire department, but you know, we have done that. So my point to you is this, that this is a feasible plan, and we are looking to, you know, provide all the landscaping necessary, and even provide screening with some of our topsoil mount across the back, and a heavily, you know, evergreen kind of a barrier. We can put a fence back there too if you feel that's necessary to help protect those neighbors from view. But that's kind of the plan in a nutshell, and I'm here to answer any questions or take your advice.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Do we have a report from staff?
Yeah, basically, we have about a 9.9 acre site. It's currently owned by Suma Health. It's under option by folks here. They're trying to develop this, as you can see here. But so we took a look at that. We saw the three points of ingress, egress. That the 3 points does require a variance. We would look. One of our recommendations was to eliminate the one on the south end there. If not, possibly make that into a restricted right in, right out, or something like that. We did also recommend, and they're aware of a traffic study that would be necessary to look at restrictions to existing drives and possible improvements, drop-off lanes or whatever those things might be, suggested by, let's say, a traffic study.
You looking for a warrant study or a full study?
Pardon?
You looking for a traffic warrant study or a complete?
No, I think a full study, not just a warrant for a signal, if that's what you're asking.
Because you're not
Yeah.
getting a signal.
Well, I don't think we were asking for it.
Signals there at Grable, yeah.
Just so that we can provide the right report. That was all my reason.
Okay.
Sorry, Tom. Continue.
One of the other big issues is going to be, well, the uses here, first of all, going back to this currently zone B2, the uses that are being suggested here are conditionally permitted. So as these facilities, let's say, would come back in the future for final site plan review, those are conditional uses that would require, notification of adjacent property owners and conditional use certificate here by this board. So the folks behind you there will be notified and will most likely be here to provide any comments, concerns, that kind of thing. So,
Understood.
so this is where that buffering, there's this type A buffering screening that's required by code when these types of uses butt each other. The fact that the building is sitting up on that higher level of the site, that does raise everything up. It raises light poles up. Everything is more, apparent. So that screening is really going to be key here, as well as to the south, where you have residents to the south as well in the multifamily area there.
We would provide full traffic studies and photometrics and the whole bit required to, for your office.
And one other thing I just happened to see there, just the way that the parking is kind of distributed, it seems like you have a lot of parking, the western portion there, and then the parking for the restaurants and that up front on the east part of the site is a little less, so it's kind of more and then less. That was just something, comment number 3 under our staff recommendation kind of deals with that, and just looking at making sure all the parking is accessible to everybody in this case.
Thanks, Tom. Is there anybody in the audience who wants to comment or question? Okay, so if not, I'll open it up to commission members.
Sir, are you prepared to make any adjustments to the landscaping required by this board or the city of Greene?
Sure.
You can understand that there's a big sensitivity issue here, butting right up next to residential.
I mean, that was kind of our intention of showing this already to you, is that we realize that, and
Okay.
it will be a dialogue, I'm sure, with the
Yes.
residents in Tom's office to
Okay,
find the appropriate screening.
right.
The type-based screening is defined in our code. I think we're not only talking plants, we're talking fences and walls and mounding. I mean, it's got it all. So, I mean, you might want to take a look at that to make sure that can fit in there.
Speaking only for myself, sir, it would have to be the city's way or no way.
Understood.
The traffic study you would provide, and the parking, we're going to have that as well. What,
The key to any mounding back there too is to, look out for storm water that's running towards the west, towards those folks.
Understood.
how married are you to the west ingress egress?
It's kind of important for
Or the south, I'm
access.
sorry, the south, I'm
You're
sorry.
talking about this one down here?
The furthest south, I'm sorry.
It's important to us, if nothing else, from a right in, right out, that's important.
Okay.
And
Understand
I
that
want-
left turns could be very difficult
I
there.
want to clarify that the further away from the Grable intersection, that is actually better. But at this point, taking away the midpoint from what used to be an office/retail facility at the corner there would be very difficult to move that. That might actually take a look at its functioning as well. We may ask that become a right in and right out as well. I mean,
This one here,
the one in the middle.
Middle.
we don't control that.
I know you don't control it. That's what I'm saying is I don't think we could take it out.
Right.
It'd almost be better to remove it, but it's there now, and it functions for the facility on the corner. So we might take a look at that, but I'm better off with the one on the south side being restricted, because again, it moves it away from the intersection a little bit.
Okay.
Let me ask the staff, when we have a plaza across the street with a driveway, is this a case where you'd want to line up a driveway, or you would not want to line up the two driveways to come out to Maslin Road at the same point? I don't know what the planning says on that.
I don't think our properties are exactly aligned across the street
Yeah.
to make that
No,
work.
but, I
They're
mean,
not going to line up.
no, I know as it's drawn, it would not, but
No, what I'm saying, sir, is that they're
Well,
not directly across from each other, they're kind of,
the offset, probably in this case, is almost better, because then you can use the middle turn lane.
Right.
Where if they were actually directly across from each other, you would have potential conflicts in that center turn lane.
Okay.
So from that standpoint, it almost works better being pulled to the south, because then you're using that center turn lane for what it is, a center turn lane, not a potential collision zone.
Okay. All right, I just would like to comment here. I mean, we have land that's zoned B2, which is our office zoning, and I think it's planned that way. We have these adjacent residential areas, so what you're proposing, some of this is all, I think Tom mentioned, it's all conditionally permitted, which imposes some other standards here too as well that we would be looking at. I don't, in these situations, I mean, the burden is really, really on you when there's, the residential areas are existing and are there now. to come in with something, here, it's got to work for those residents.
Understood.
So, and I'm not so sure about a 24,000 square foot retail store right in their backyard, so I think we all might have imagined a less intensive use of this site. So, and I think there are, I'm trying to quickly look at the topographical, but it looks like you could have a pond on this site, but you would lose, your quick serve restaurant and retail there looks like a low spot that you could.
The other side just is that EPA seem to be getting away from underground detention, stormwater. And, I mean, they may have to be involved to make sure that they're going to allow that to happen as opposed to just Summit Swim Water allowing it. I know Summit Swim Water won't sign off on underground detention without EPA. So that could cause some issues here. I think all in all, in our long-range plan, our Madison Road corridor, we've talked about community retail on this site as well.
Right.
The B2 does allow the retail to be conditionally permitted. So that's why it's not such a slam dunk, if you will. If this was asked to be rezoned B1, then yes, you do that, and that took place. In this case, the B2 kicks off that additional notification.
Right.
Possibly whenever, let's say you have different building times, it might kick it off each time that we notify those people as each one comes up, or if they're all built at once, just maybe once. But I guess what I'm trying to say is it kicks it off, and that's the issue with the B2. Not saying it's not part of our plan. The idea of community retail, the B2 required some additional buffering. The business part of this with the Type A landscaping, Type A is the most intense.
Right.
Screening. Yeah.
Screening requires a little bit more, and that's for the protection of the existing residential. So that's why I think they wanted to come in here. They wanted to hear your comments, your concerns, so that they can go back. They have to beef up landscaping screening. If they have to talk to EPA, can they get that in there? And then do the traffic impact so that we can, it's pretty much about the turning movements. I mean, it's not traffic itself, it's about turning movements.
Right.
I mean, I'm not concerned with Madison Road taking care of the traffic, I'm more concerned with movements.
Understood.
Ideally, we push everything to Grable Road, utilize the traffic circle or traffic light, maybe a circle one day, but the traffic signal at this point in time, and everything would be good. So, that's kind of where we wanted to bring this to. They wanted to, we give everybody the opportunity to come in, discuss it, see what, like you see earlier, what's the problems? What do you see as the problems? And this is kind of one of those ones that still might be touchy as it goes. As Mr. Plum pointed out, I think 24,000 square foot, how do you take care of deliveries? Are they during 8 to 5? Who knows? Things like that. So that the residential district immediately to the west is not detrimentally impacted, I think, is the key.
Okay.
Mr. Westover, is it just out of bounds thinking, wrong thinking to imagine that 24,000 square foot retail building closer to the street, set back some distance, some pleasing distance, but having the parking behind it, get it away from that residential abutting area?
Well, my client wanted to, get the best land use of his, for the price he's paying for the land. So, that's what we're showing here. If that's one of your concerns, we will address that with them. And
The master plan that was not adopted by the city along this corridor where the Acme complex is actually proposed something toward that with the building set forward and the parking behind. So I just thought I'd mention that.
appreciate it. Any comments you have?
And that's a good point. The thing is, the 3 buildings out front, or 2 buildings, whatever you want to call those ones connected. It kind of meets that criteria a little bit with just the 2 rows of parking. That's what we talked about. So there, in this case, you happen to have 2 sets of buildings, you know what I mean? Or two rows. And, but I think Mr. Yoder's onto something. If there was a way that the 24,000 could be turned or brought up, maybe that's an option that you could still be there. I think we talked in one meeting about an L-shaped building, which I'm not a big fan of, but that's just me. But maybe something like that could lessen the impact, or maybe even it's disconnected, it could function. I'm just throwing that out there, I think is where you were going, but bringing the biggest one up with less impact to the residential. Does that make sense?
Sure. That's why we're here, just to hear.
I'm not
your comments.
advocating the L either.
You were kind of advocating it.
Yeah,
You were lukewarm.
as a
No,
commercial real estate guy, I wouldn't want the L because that tenant's going to want that exposure with or without the outbuildings and that.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
just my
saying,
thought
the
on
L, I'm not advocating the L, I'm just saying.
It
somehow
it
to
is a
bring it up.
difficult real estate issue.
And I'm thinking to myself, not that the comments weren't good or anything, but if you bring that building forward and put parking behind it, well then, whatever tenant you have, they've already got a prototype of how they lay out their store and everything, so now you're gonna have to have an entrance here and an entrance there, and they're gonna have to retrofit their whole prototype for the store. Not that that's, yeah,
I mean,
We're
so
not
what?
looking for a big chain grocery store. It'd be more of a, community, smaller operation or something like that, that is maybe, more healthy foods, whole foods kind of thing, that is a little more receptive to modifying their plans
okay,
than a big chain.
okay.
Would this be speculative, or is it fair to ask, or is this,
They do have some interest, and they are talking. At this point, we can't disclose that, but
Yeah.
no, I think that they would have tenants in place in order to start it.
Would we have to know the tenants to approve it because of the conditional use, or?
But you're gonna know
No,
the ultimate
The
use.
use is what,
I
yeah.
mean, and right now, they're saying a quick serve
Quick serve restaurant.
quick serve restaurants out front and a retail at the back, so, I mean, but you're gonna see the design of this.
Yeah, you'll see
I
buildings.
mean, you have to see the architecture of the building, design of the building, so.
Well, I understand all
See
that.
You'll see all that, I'm just saying.
But
Is it gonna have the sign on it? Not until they get sign permits.
Well, I understand that, but I'm just wondering, do we have to know the tenants to approve the conditional use, or do we approve it based on?
It's the use. I mean, it's sort
Yeah,
of like, it's sort of like with
elevations.
Acme, when they came in with their retail buildings, we had no idea who the tenants are gonna be.
Okay,
So, I mean, you find that out, but it's the use that you're approving.
Okay.
It's not so much the actual tenant.
'Cause we-
Because 5 years from now, it could be somebody
Right.
entirely different anyways.
well,
absolutely.
Todd said Whole Foods, so
Something like,
Did you hear that?
I heard that.
I must not have heard that. It was
Something
Grange Road.
along that line. We're looking for like a grocer.
well, I'll look for a motion here to table this item.
Well,
There's actually
Just
no
a
motion.
discussion.
There's
needed.
no
Discussion.
motion.
We weren't actually looking for any action, just conversations.
Fair enough.
So we appreciate your time. Thank you.
And the only comments I'd add to that is I would definitely like to see those lane restrictions so that they're right turn out. Making a left-hand turn out of there on Maslin Road would just be crazy. So I would certainly be in favor of that, so make sure that's in there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.